Hi, this is Marco Leone. I teach at Kalama Intermediate School in Makawao in Mali, and I'm going to talk to you today about educators and AI, ethical considerations, and professionalism. How is Gen Tech used in the classroom, and how can we prepare students to use it in the classroom so they can use it in the workforce? How is Gen Tech used in the classroom? I think the most important thing to note when using Gen Tech is have a clear pedagogical purpose for the AI tool. You don't want to willy nilly give it to students without you personally showing explicitly how to use it, why you're using it, how it's needed for the specific project. Otherwise, students will use AI just to get the final output and not use it productively and learn from it. In Gen Tech in the classroom, I always make sure it's clearly outlined within the first day, within the syllabus. Again, teach it explicitly. Just like with reading, it's important that we don't just give it to students and expect them to know how to use it, but we should show them. We should be the role model user. Um, so, for example, showing them examples of citing sources, supporting sources related to the generative technology information that you obtained, showing examples of summarizing PowerPoints or using generative technology. In my class for graphics, we use it for AI imaging for your business. Another way to avoid having students just use generative technology to cheat um, is create open ended questions and critical thinking responses, ways that students can't just get a simple output from a computer, similar to DOK1 to DOK6, just knowledge and memorizing versus creating and analyzing. You don't want students just to have simple DOK1 input output, memorize this fact and I will repeat it. It should be, how are these facts? How can you critically think about this source you're using, or how can you use these facts and evaluate what's going to happen next? Another thing when using generative technology in the classroom is don't always listen to students asking for generative AI or can I use generative AI. Make sure you are the sole, you are the teacher and understand how it's being used and why it should be used. And of course, does it align with the code of ethics within the classroom and the school? Be transparent. I used to teach social studies, so we always about citing supporting sources. Make sure whatever information you get from generative technology is supported by differing sources. Be transparent on how you're using it. And again, the teacher in this case should be the role model in showing you how to cite these sources. I thought a really good quote from Dr. Frederick Slane's presentation was information is the new oil. That is what I try to teach the kids here, is that the information, especially gleaned from educational technology tools, is extremely valuable for these companies. They use this data to further progress their generative AI technology. So there should be somebody in each school community that's evaluating the privacy concerns of the tools we're using. For example, we stopped using Flipgrid for videos during COVID. It's a video tool similar to Google Meets, but it records the video and saves it on the server. And nobody really knew who was using this data, where the videos were being saved, and it was banned from the DOE K-12 accounts for a while. So ensure that same thing with video conferencing, Google Meet, Zoom, WebEx. We always look into how is our videos being captured, how's our data and information about ourselves, our age, where we live, how is that personal information about ourselves being saved, and how is it being used? It's really important. In terms of my class, I also think about this, especially with Canva, because a lot of the um, graphics we use have students' faces on it, and where I'm going to talk about the technology responsible use and the audio video release forms. But who is taking the data that we're uploading to this AI software so it can create AI images of what we create? Um, So oftentimes I will have them not use any kind of faces or any way to recognize themselves within the program. Ethical cyber traps for educators. What should we not do when using generative technology? Well, there's quite a few, especially because I'm going to talk about a checklist of ethics that I should go over before using generative technology. But the main things, especially from what I got from the presentation, were don't overuse generative technology. Don't make sure students don't use it every single time for every assignment. Make sure there's a clear purpose, like I said before. Ensure equity. Something we don't usually think about is some students may be completely familiar with generative technology. They used it in after school clubs. They've seen their parents use it. Similar to when I teach 3D printing, some students are really capable on a mouse and keyboard, and some have never used a mouse and keyboard. So ensure that equity and familiarity with the tool is equitable, and make sure that you teach the skill of how to use the tool, how to get better prompts and get better content from the generative technology tool. Um, and of course, the main things not to do is harassment, fraud, identity theft. Make sure the student teachers don't use deepfake apps to imitate coworkers, students to student peers having AI images that are fake, or even student to teacher imaging. So just ensure that we use honesty and professionalism when using these tools. Something I didn't really talk about as well is the bias in teaching AI. Don't just take AI as fact. The AI uses data that is biased, and it may not be the tool's fault, but it may be the data's fault. So ensure that there's supporting sources and your content is correct. Educational guidance for educators. What should we look at when we are using AI? I think these are just some basic guidelines on the picture to the right, but in terms of the guidelines, there are going to be 20 in the 24-25 fall year. There's going to be policies related to specifically AI tools. Um, I mentioned the TRU, the Technology Reuse Forum, our acceptable use policies, our state federal laws, and our code of ethics. So whenever you use generative technology, um, just ensure that all the content, all the information, the tool, we should make sure it aligns with those policies I mentioned earlier. Again, these are some good guidelines to how we as educators should be promoting and using generative technology. I think we should just keep up to date with all the developments, monitor the student usage, be an advocate for safe and effective tools, show how to use it effectively, assist in helping and developing these policies so that, for example, reviewing the TRU, Technology Responsible Use Form, and just ensuring that it adapts to new behaviors or new ways students are using the technology, because it's been a while and technology changes a lot. And then in terms of the broader school community, parents, teachers, administration, and the district, ensure that everyone's on the same board of how we're using this technology, because everyone is in this new ballgame. Here's a quick checklist I got from a blog called Dave's Educational Blog. It was updated on 2023. And here are just some basic questions that I really appreciate how he outlined it. I don't want to go too deep into it, but this is what I would kind of print out as a checklist for teachers in my school that need help in reviewing, should I use this AI technology. So did I explain my use case? Is it in my syllabus? Make sure that from the day one they know exactly how and what we were using generative technology for. Did I include background context and explain how they're related to the learning objective? So if students have no reason to understand why they're using generative technology, what the content's about, and what the background context, why would generative technology be used in this case, for example, they're just going to use it to cheat the assignment, or plagiarize. So ensure there is background context and motivate, engage them. Did I evaluate the purpose? So again, just make sure there's a lot more depth and less breadth. So make sure there's a lot. With generative technology, we can kind of eliminate the giant scope of content we have to teach as teachers, and we can teach more deliberately and think more critically about the content we're teaching. So instead of just going over the entire U.S. history from 1700 to 2024, we can talk about the specific cases that align to or that correlate to the democracy we have today. So less breadth, more depth, especially with the use of AI. Did I give them enough tools to unlearn the previous methods and learn new ways of research and using generative AI? Same thing about equity. Just ensure students know how to, for example, use search engine prompts correctly, how to, it's just a new way of getting information from generative AI versus just searching into Google. So ensure students have enough time to practice. Is there somebody in the community, or do we ensure that the tool is not going to track or use personal information? Did I model the best behavior? Did I scaffold the skills to learn how to prompt the generative technology? Have I considered the accessibility? Do they have ways to access at home? Do some students do or not? So these are all just really important guidelines for using a new tool. And finally, we are the role models for our students, demonstrating critical thinking and ethical reasoning when using AI. And I got this from Sykes, Ethical Considerations for Using AI. But we are the role models. Thank you for teaching us, Dr. Lane, but I believe we have the skills and the capabilities to be the change in our communities and show that generative technology is not a scary tool. It's not a scary thing. It's not going to be used for harassment and identity theft all the time. But although you should keep that in consideration, but it's a really valuable tool that students can use into the workplace and will be with them in the workplace. So how can we prepare them for that future? So thank you and hope you enjoy.